In the last session, you have heard my colleague who has appraised you on what has been the progression of indirect tax laws in India over the last 3 decades. Why we, being a growing economy, require GST at this point of time. What is the GST model which the government is planning to adopt in India? What milestones have been reached since the initial proposal was made to implement the GST, and what is the current state of affairs? Now we need to ponder on as to what should be the way forward for the GST. Now, way forward could be on the part of the government and way forward on the part of the industry. Now, in the later part of the session, I would request my senior friend from the VAT department to briefly touch upon as to how the government feels for the way forward on GST. From an industry perspective, I would, before just going into the way forward, I would just like to discuss with you as to how GST is going to impact the industries. GST in itself is a very radical reform. It is not just an indirect tax reform. It is going to change the way we are operating, the way we do our businesses. Now, historically, whenever any industry is going to structure their supply chain, one of the major criteria is what are the tax structures in place, whether my supply chain is efficient or not. Like on the procurement side, historically our decisions have been based on what kind of import duties are going to be levied, whether those duties are going to be tax creditable or not. Similarly, in terms of indigenous procurements, our efforts are always that instead of making an interstate procurement, I should do an intrastate procurement. Similarly, on the manufacturing side, whenever we want to set up a new manufacturing location, the idea is what kind of fiscal incentives we are getting from the state government or from the center for that respective location. Again, on the distribution side, because of state boundaries due to CST, generally the practice had been that we should be opening up our warehouses in multiple locations in all the states and do the invoicing on a VAT basis rather than charging CST. Now the GST system which the government is planning to bring in India, this is going to change the whole supply chain because tax considerations, they would not have so much relevance in designing your supply chain structure. So when the existing supply chain which were designed on a different structure altogether and which is now getting changed, so the existing supply chain structure may not be that efficient.